Okay, I think we can start. So we were discussing about the networking part, and the last one which we have, that is called as VPN, site to site VPN topic, which we need to discuss. So that let's have a quick review on the site to site VPN, then I will explain you how it works. So last week we discussed about the site to site VPN. There client to server VPN we have discussed, and site to site VPN we have discussed, but we need to discuss on certain areas, like in site to site VPN what all things will be there. So in the networking, you learned about VPC, you learned about subnet, you learned about internet gateway, you learned about route tables, you learned about elastic IPs, you learned about public IPs, you learned about security groups, you learned about NACLs, network access control list. All these things you have learned. Now this is something which is the last topic which we have, that is called as a VPN. So in this VPN, what is that we will be understanding is that VPN, site to site VPN, how it works. Like, yesterday, as you learned about the direct connect, but the site to site VPN, what all options you will get and how exactly it is set up in AWS, that's what you're going to learn. So, which we already have a basic understanding about client to server VPN, which I already showed you how to set up a VPN server and how to connect. So that we will be seeing now, along with the, in the AWS side, what you can do. So if you have any questions or any doubts after the session, you can ask me. So I'm sharing my screen. Just give a minute. Uh, okay. So site to site VPN. So there are two things. One is that customer. If you have a customer, if you have the customer environment, how will we be connecting with site to site VPN? And if it is on premises environment, how do we connect to the environment? So these are the two things which we need to understand. So as I discussed last time, whether it is a site to site VPN or whether it is a client to server VPN, you need to have both the sites. One dedicated connection is required. So yesterday we have discussed, like, for the connection, either if you want to go with AWS, Amazon is providing you a connection called as right, AWS direct connect, which we have discussed. So apart from the direct connect, you don't want to go with direct connect, then you can go with your own connectivity tool like Line or any kind of from third party, Airtel, Geo, whatever the connection is there, you can go with the both the options. So when it comes to site VPN, a couple of things you need to understand on the VPN side, what all things will be there on the AWS side, which you need to have an understanding. One is VPN connection. Second thing is called as VPN tunnels. Third one is called as customer gateway. Fourth one is called as customer gateway devices. And fifth one is called as virtual private gateway. And sixth one is called as transit gateway. This, in all these six things, this transit gateway is something which is recently and newly launched site. I mean, launched service, you can say. So before, what used to happen is that manually we used to do the connectivity one by one. So this transit gateway is something which works as a hub, centralized hub, which they brought as a service. So you can enable your access to your remote network by using the VPC with site to site VPN connection. So basically what happens is that whenever you establish a connection, basically you are making a tunnel with a kind of a protocol called as IPsec protocol between your source and destination. So when you do the source and destination connectivity, you need to have this platform. So if you are planning for a virtual private gateway, right, the virtual private gateway is nothing but on your AWS side, which we need to define, and customer side we need to have a customer gateway. Customer gateway is nothing but a public IP address which will be configured on the firewall of the customer. That details need to be kept in the customer gateway on the AWS side. Tunnel is nothing but the creation, the establishment between the connection between two sites, customer and your AWS. Virtual private gateway is nothing but like how we have internet gateway. Internet gateway is a traffic which is which allows both incoming and outgoing connection. Same way, AWS has a virtual private gateway. So virtual private gateway, what it will do is that, this allows you to configure all kinds of VPN traffic. Means if you want to configure a VPN traffic over the, internet, so Amazon is providing you this virtual private gateway. So here what you need to understand is that this virtual private gateway, to connect, it can use your AWS direct connection also, or it can use your normal network connection also. It will allow you to communicate all the VPN traffic to your VPCs. So whatever the VPN traffic is there, right, that VPN traffics can be, can be provided, the site to site VPN traffic can be provided to your VPCs. So a customer gateway is nothing but a physical device or a software appliance that is managed at your customer premises, means at your on premises, wherever you are, let's assume you have AWS data center and you have a data center in Bangalore. So this Bangalore data center requires a device called as customer gateway device. So otherwise we call it as a physical appliance or a physical device or a software appliance, which you need to configure to, establish a tunnel. So whenever you want to establish a site to site VPN tunnel, you need to create something called as customer gateway. So now you might get a doubt, sir, what device you're talking about? What is the device I need to have in my on premises environment? In your on premises environment, you either need to have Checkpoint Security Gateway or Cisco ASA 8.2 or anything later, Cisco IOS or Sonic Wall Firewall or Fortinet Firewall or Juniper J Series, or you can go with Netgate, or you can go with Yamaha, or you can go with Windows Server 2008 or 2012. Inside you need to install the VPN firewall or Jixel firewall. Like this, you need to have these kind of a devices at your premises, where you need to have at your on premises. These are the devices which are supported for your IPsec site to site VPN tunneling. So if you want to do site to site VPN tunneling on your on premises, you need to have these kind of devices. Any device will be working. So if you want to know more details about which all devices are required, so you can go with the, VPN site to site supported devices in AWS. It will give you the list of devices what are supported in your AWS. Any of these devices need to be provided at your on premises, and you need to do the configuration at your on premises. So once you have these devices, then you need to create a connection between your on premises environment to your AWS environment by configuring these devices. Your source IP will be virtual private gateway and your destination IP will be customer gateway. What will be the source? Virtual private gateway, and the destination will be your customer gateway. So like that, you need to configure your connectivity, which means that at your on premises, you need to have the customer gateway device, and at your AWS, you need to configure your virtual private gateway and associate that virtual private gateway to your customer gateway with the IP address. That is what you need to do. Now you will say that, sir, I don't want to use virtual private gateway, or do we have any other option? So you can go with transit gateways, which you learn. So in general, let us take, you have two servers in two different locations. So basically you are creating a network tunnel and you have two routers. Or what you can do is that, you can provide router one the information about router two, and the router two information about router one. Then both can communicate with each other without any problems, if it is in a single network or, in a same location. But if you're going outside location, that is when you need all these things. You need a VPN connection, you need a VPN tunnel, you need a customer gateway, you need a customer gateway device, you need a virtual private gateway, If you don't want to use virtual private gateway, then you can have a transit gateway. So I think this is what you have tested last week, which we did. We have done right, end user laptop, we installed a VPN client. From the VPN client over the encrypted session over the internet, it connected to the VPN server. From the VPN server, you have accessed your AWS server. This is a basic VPN, virtual private network. You did it. This you already tested in your lab. You installed a VPN server in AWS platform, and then you installed a client in your on-premises environment. Nothing but you install in your laptop the VPN, Open VPN client, and then you have seen how it has been connected over the internet. That is a generic VPN server and VPN client communication. But what is the difference in site to site is that we are not using VPN server or VPN client on my local machine. Behalf of VPN client on my my on premises, or my local laptop, in my local laptop I don't need any client and all, but at my on premises I need to have a firewall. So unless there is a VPN firewall is there, like the mentioned firewall devices, you cannot create a VPN tunnel. So these firewall devices will support VPN setup, like Cisco Checkpoint Security Gateway, Cisco ASA, Cisco IOS, Sonic Fall, Fortinet, all these kinds of devices. Any of these devices, any one devices are supported for your VPN connection. Once you have that devices, then how that will work is that you can see here on your right side of the image, you can see there is a customer gateway or on premises. Whether you take your on premises or your customer location, you need to configure something called as customer gateway. So at the VPN tunnels between, it offers two VPN tunnels between virtual private gateway or a transit gateway on the AWS side. So a customer gateway which is present at VPN device on the remote on premises side. So what is that I'm saying is that at your on premises you need to have a customer device. Customer device is nothing but your firewall. So that firewall should have an IP address which can talk to your AWS data center by using two methods. Either you can communicate via virtual private gateway or you can communicate via transit gateway. So the difference is that virtual private gateway and transit gateway works like a hub, which means that one gateway can communicate with multiple VPCs. You no need to create single connection. Why? Because it works as a centralized hub. If you go with a virtual private gateway, it is one connection, one VPC, so that every time you need to create single virtual private gateway. Now you might get a doubt, then why we have virtual private gateway? So Amazon is giving the both the options. Transit gateway is the latest feature. It's a new technology, new service which AWS implemented with the option called as multiple connectivity with the hub, like where you can do a multiple connection with the help of AWS platform. So that is one more advantage what Amazon is giving. So you can see here, virtual private gateway is nothing but VPN concentrator on the Amazon side of the site-to-site VPN connection. You can create virtual private gateway and attach to the VPC, which you want to create site-to-site VPN connection. Means whenever you want to create a site-to-site VPN connection between your on-premises to your AWS, the first step is that you need to have a customer gateway at your on-premises, and then you need to create a virtual private gateway at your AWS. With the help of these two things, you can create a connectivity. So whenever you want to create a connectivity, you need to have a ASN number defined on your, AWS side, which is nothing but autonomous system number. So by default, 64,512 is the autonomous system number. So you might get a doubt, what is this ASN, number? Why do we need this ASN number? Okay. So you need to understand here. So autonomous system number is nothing but basically whenever your routes want to communicate, or one or more IP prefixes want to communicate across the globe, right? So this autonomous system is nothing but it's an internet protocol routing method. Okay, so whenever you want to do the routing across the globe, or different location, this autonomous system number is nothing but which controls the routing of the network and which exchange the information from other internet service providers. Means there will be in the globally, there will be so many different internet service providers will be there. So your IP is communicating from, let's take that you are from Bangalore and you're communicating your AWS data center to US. There'll be so many internet service providers will be there. So these autonomous system number, what it does is that it acts like between for the ISP providers to exchange the IP prefix information. It acts as a hub. So this autonomous system number you need to define at your virtual private gateway, so that there is no challenges at the time of the communication of your routing. Whenever the routes are happening, so the exchanging the routing information from internet service provider, they will not have any challenges. So there are two different formats which will come. One is 16-bit number it will come, and second one is 32-bit number. So it will the basically 64,512 to 65,534 is something which is being defined by IANA, Internet Assigned for Numbers and Authority people has defined this autonomous system number, which you need to use for your connectivity remotely. If you want to connect, you need to use this on your devices, basically on your VPN connection only. You will use this whenever you are trying to communicate between multiple routes. You use this autonomous number. So what you need to understand is that if you want to set up a VPN, site to site VPN connection, you need to have a in your on premises firewall, in your on premises ISP connection, in your on premises gateway, and at your AWS you need to create a virtual private gateway. At your AWS you need to have a customer gateway configured with the IP what the customer has been provided, and along with that handshake methodology for ASN needs to be provided when it comes to the site to site VPN. So if you don't want to use the virtual private gateway, we have another method. As I told you, if you want to communicate to multiple VPCs or multiple network connections, transit gateway is nothing but it's a transit hub which used to interconnect your virtual VPCs and on-premises networks. So as I told you, if you don't want to use virtual private gateway, the other method Amazon is providing you, transit gateway, which will help you to communicate between multiple VPCs and multiple subnets, right? So that you no need to create single connection. Single gateway is enough to communicate with multiple VPCs. That is the option additional feature what Amazon has been given. So either you can use transit gateway or you can use virtual private gateway. Both are the methods which are supported. However, to use either this one or that one, you need to have at your on premises, you need to have the device. So already I told you what devices are supported. Now, what is this customer gateway and customer device? Remember here, customer gateway or customer device means nothing but a physical device or a virtual appliance which you need to run at your on premises. Suppose you want to create a connection for your AWS to your home, or you want to create a connection from your Bangalore office to AWS at your on premises, you need to have a physical device called as I told you, what is that you need? Either you need to go with Juniper or Cisco or FortiGate, like this, any kind of a firewalls which are supported, you need to use those devices. And those devices only can allow the connection, can create a connection from your on premises to AWS platform. Then only this is possible. Without these devices, you cannot create a IPsec tunneling. So basically, whenever you want to create a tunneling, you need to have these devices configured. So this is what you will be doing at your VPN connection. So whenever you want to create a VPN connection, you need to have all these devices configured, public IP configured, internet access need to be there. Then at your AWS side, you will have two options. One is called as virtual private gateway. Second one is called as transit gateway. If you use virtual private gateway, it's a single layer connection, single layer failover. If you want a multi-layer connection, multi failover, then you have something called as transit gateway. So both can be used, and virtual private gateway can further attach to your VPC to transfer your VPN data over the internet to your AWS VPN connection. So these two are the features and functionalities what you have in your VPN. Okay. Now I'll be showing you a quick how exactly you can set up your AWS gateway. Just a second. I am just showing you.
Samir, I have a query regarding that ASN. That how do we know the list of the ASN when we are applying the private gateway, the VPN gateway? So how do I get this number? Because there is one date is mentioned over there, the 6/30, 2080 something.
Mm-hmm. Which number you're talking about?
ASN number. You have put given the ASN number, right? You are talking about that
You can
ASN
use
number.
you can use anything. You can use anything between 64,512 to 65,534.
So there is no specific number because there is, I think, there's some specific number regarding that region-based Asia specific for
That is actually when you configure your firewall device at your customer gateway, right? So their ASN number will be provided by your ISP provider. Either you can take it from him, or else you can use the in the background of your device. ASN number will be prefixed, so you can use those numbers also.
So what is then that I can choose any of the number between that 64,512 to
So you
65,000?
so these are the reserved numbers, means 64,512 to 65,534. This around 1,023 numbers are reserved numbers. Okay. So either when you exchange the prefix information, any of these numbers defined by, if your network administrator already defined, he will tell you the same ASN number which has been collected from your ISP provider. Then so the same number you need to use, depends upon your on-premises environment, what he has defined you. So I'll be showing you, one second. Are you able to see my screen? Able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So see here on the left side, you have all these things. So your VPN will come in this part, right? So customer gateway is something first you need to create, right? So when I say create customer gateway, it will ask me about the name. It will ask me what kind of a routing it is, dynamic or static. And if I have any kind of a certificate, I can create a certificate. Device is optional. Like what is the device which they're using? Like, you want to define a name, Juniper or whatever it is, right? You can define. Now this IP who will provide?
Customer side.
On premises.
Very good. On premises. Yes, you are right. So read here. The specify the internet routable IP address of your gateway's external interface. This address must be static and maybe behind a device performing the NAT. For dynamic routing, you can use BGP or ASN, autonomous system number. This can be either public or private ASN, such as those in 64,500 or whatever it is. So it depends on what kind of a routing you're using, either a dynamic routing or a static routing, right? So you can see here, if I am going with dynamic, then only I'm using a autonomous system number. If I am going with static, I don't need to use a ASN number. So I need to understand what is that. So border gateway protocol is nothing but if you are doing a dynamic routing between multiple ISP providers, who will be done by, it will be done by your network administrator at the other end. Suppose he has around 5 to 10 hops which you need to communicate. That time they will provide you a prefix ASN number, so that it will do the dynamic routing in the background whenever it is communicating between one source to destination. Static is nothing but directly source and destination. It is not worried about how many hops it is going. But if you want to transfer your data across the multiple hops which has been defined by your network administrator for the border gateway protocol, then you can go with the dynamic one. So in this case, I am going with, just to show you, I am going with the static information. If I am going with static routing, which means that first I will say my VPN connection, just a name. Okay. This IP address, who will provide this IP address? This will be provided by your on-premises guy. Let's assume your on-premises guy has given 50.18.7.2. Okay. So device, I can say in your on-premises, you might have a device called as, let's assume Juniper. Okay. Create a customer gateway. So you can see right automatically IPsec protocol it has showed, and default BGP has been assigned because it is not using any defined BGP. Suppose if you use it for the dynamic and you have your device, that time you can use it. Now I am using this IP address. This is nothing but which has been provided by on-premises. This is just for my for the showing the purpose of use case we are doing. It is not a real one. It's just a dummy. Okay. Now what we could,
Sir, the IP address we can added the LAN pool LAN segment also.
yes, you can use an NATed IP also. You can use a public IP also. I
No,
just
no,
put it public
just,
IP.
just I say that the we can put it our LAN segment. Suppose
Yes.
our LAN segment is
Yes,
15.18.70.0/24 either.
you can use it.
Okay.
Okay, so I just used one basic public IP. You want to use your own network IP, you can use, no problem. Now, once you configure the customer gateway, you get an option like if you want to delete, you can delete. The next thing is that you have virtual private gateway here. I am saying create virtual private gateway. I will go with saying that my VPN gateway and say create virtual private gateway. It's done. Now this this gateway should be attached to what? Actions.
Customer gate. Okay, VPC, sorry. Yeah.
VPC. So whatever the VPC you're using, such assume that you're using India, you're saying India and say yes, attach. So what will happen now? Any traffic which is coming from your on-premises,
Will be routed.
it will come to the customer gateway, and then what will happen? Customer gateway need to forward to your virtual private gateway. Now you created a virtual private gateway and you just created a connection to your VPC, right? You attached your virtual private gateway directly to the VPC, and you created a customer gateway, which means that from the destination, source connectivity is there, and from your virtual private gateway, there is a connectivity to your VPC is there, but you need to create a connectivity from virtual private gateway to your customer gateway. So for that, what you need to do, you need to configure something called as
Side to side.
site-to-site VPN connection. Go here and say create VPN connection. I will say my VPN. And what kind of, I told you just now, I told you two methods, either virtual private gateway or a transit gateway. Virtual private gateway, one gateway you can create. Transit gateway works as a hub, so you can do multiple things. So I am going with generic method that is called as virtual private gateway. Can you see this? Automatically it has listed my virtual private gateway. Select that. So here customer gateway, you can create a new one or an existing. We already created an existing gateway, right? So you can use this existing gateway and scroll down. Now these routing options, who will tell these routing options? Who will inform, dynamic or static? Who will inform that?
On premises.
On-premise guy.
Your
Customer
on-premises
gateway.
guy will inform you, dynamic or static. If it is static, he will provide you the IP address, IP prefix he will provide you. So he will provide you 2 to 3 prefixes, depends on how he has done the routing. Okay. Now if it is dynamic, you can leave it automatically. Autonomous number is already been defined. So it will try to fetch based on the gateway what we have created. But the, always recommended, if you're going with normal site to site connection, If you do not have a predefined any kinds of routing protocols, then you can go with static. You already have the environment which has been defined with the multiple ISP providers, then you can go with BGP. But this BGP also will, your on-premises guy will get to know all the routing information. He need to contact whom? He need to contact his ISP provider. His ISP provider will tell him, okay, use this IPs. Same way, though, based on that, he will provide us. So that information you need to be clear. So if you go with static, directly you can put the IP address. Let's say 50.10. something XYZ. Okay, if I want, I can say add another rule, but it is asking for a CADR block. So the CADR block need to be defined at your on-premises environment. So I have not defined anything on premises because we don't have anything. So if you have a valid CADR block, that time you can define it as a prefix. So we do not know what is the prefix which we have on premises. So we can scroll down. And tunnel options, you can define IPv inside CADR for tunnel 1, tunnel 2, pre-shared key. So what is this pre-shared key for your VPN tunnels is nothing but, so what is a tunnel? So first you need to understand what is a tunnel. Let's assume you have two buildings. In between there is a hill. So tunnel is nothing but you are creating a secure way so that from a person from building 1 can go to building 2, right? So what is this? The pre-shared key VPN is nothing but, so what exactly this pre-shared key do in your VPN is that it is an authentication option. It is the default authentication option. A pre-shared key to site-to-site VPN connection, what it does is that it creates a string, and when you configure your customer gateway device to manage the authentication method, it uses this certificate manager or certificate authority on your environment to authenticate that you are a valid trust, okay, valid person, you are an authorized person. So for that purpose only, you need to have this pre-shared key generated. If you are not generated, if you want to generate, leave it by Amazon, you can say create a VPN connection. So automatically it will be creating. So it will take some time to get activated. Once it is activated, it will start directly from your on-premises, means from your AWS machine. You can directly communicate to your on-premises. Now you will not be able to do this. It will not work on this. Why it will not work?
We are not configuring our own premises.
Yes, we are only doing in our own premises. We do not have our on-premises environment. But if you want to do that, if you want to test it, you should have your live on-premises environment with these supported devices. What all the supported devices I told you? Cisco ASA, Cisco IOS, Juniper, FortiGate, like these kind of devices or firewalls are required for to set up your AWS platform. If you want to do in the AWS platform VPN connection, then at your on-premises, those kind of environments, those kind of devices are required. Understood? Very simple method. Three things you need to remember. One is customer gateway, one is virtual private gateway, and third one is that site-to-site VPN connection. These three things are required at your on-premises, right? So once you do at your AWS platform, at your on-premises, you need to do it. So let me draw a simple, easy diagram so that you will not forget this.
So Samir, we cannot practice this in our lab, means the VPN and all.
Client to server VPN, I already showed you, no?
Samir, VPN and customer gateway and site to site, those can be created on AWS, but how we can create on premises? Because
No, you can't do. That's what I'm saying. You can do client to server VPN lab, but you cannot do the on-premises lab. If you want to do the on-premises lab, you need to have your own firewall configured. Then only you can do that.
Actually, I missed that class for where the client server VPN last week. So that's why means today I'm not able to. I understood as far as whatever say that side-to-side VPN require the physical connectivity between that on-premises and AWS, right?
Yeah.
So
So for
we
the
cannot.
site, for the client to server VPN, we already tested it. I think we tested last week.
Yeah, last week,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Can I configure client side to side VPN and on premises right now?
I don't know. Like you have
No, I
the
am having device.
okay. You have the
Okay.
Cisco
Yeah, no.
ASE.
I am having a cyber room device.
No. I told you no. AWS supported devices. Those devices are required.
But right now we are using on this is side to side VPN tunnel on this device.
Yeah, but I'm telling if you want to use AWS site-to-site VPN on the AWS platform, there is a list of devices which are provided by AWS. If you have those devices, then only it will be supported.
Samir, please check the list whether that device is included in that list or not.
I will be sharing you the what is that the sheet. What all devices are there. So 1 second, I will give you that on your chat. You can check that. But I already told you, right? Only those devices are supported. 1 second, hold on. Checkpoint Security Gateway, Cisco ASA 8.2, Cisco iOS 12.4, Sonic Wall 5.9, FortiGate 40 series, Juniper 9.5, Juniper SRX, Netgate 2.2, Palo Alto 4.12, Yamaha RTX 1200 or Jixel. If you have any of these things, you can use it. Okay. You easy. If you want to easily understand, go here, go to Google. You're able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Type scroll down. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have any of these devices, then only it will be supported.
+9179977222.
Okay, clear? Okay. So that's the reason you no need to worry, because as we tested already site to client to site VPN connection, so that itself will give you a clarity. But if you want to do this, you can do this, or else you have one more option, like what is that if you are if you in your office or anything, if you have any of these old appliances or anything, you can try downloading it on the virtually and you can test it. So those things also you can do. However, you need to have a public IP and elastic IPs need to be provided, then you can do all these kinds of testing. But as if you are aware about how to configure this client to server VPN, that is more than enough to understand this site to site VPN. The only difference is that in client to server VPN, you have configured you have configured already on your AWS platform, which you created a VPN server, Open VPN. We created a connection, then we configured what is that internal. We configured the NATing, then we downloaded the VPN client and we tested. Same to same way. This on the AWS side, we need to do it. Rest all things are same. Understood about the VPN? Any questions? Devnath, if you have missed the client to server VPN lab, 8:30, there's one more batch which we have started. So next week, the networking session will happen. That time you can join, so that what you missed that lab, you can see there.
can you please send me a request for that?
Yeah. When that lab starts, that time I'll message you. That time you can join.
Yeah, sure. I'll be joining when the VPN classes started. Just let me know. I will ping you separately.
Yeah. No problem.
Samir, even I'll ping you separately when I wanted to.
Yeah,
join.
whoever see, if you miss any classes, no need to worry. Just ping me in offline which session you missed. Wherever the batch is available, that time I'll patch you. I will WhatsApp you. Now there are so many people like different groups. Now also I send them the link. Whether I don't know who will be missing and all. Anytime any revision, any batch is available, I will keep on send you the links. If whenever you're free, you can join. Not an issue at all.
Okay.
But in our group, we have not received any link so
Because
far.
in your group you just started, no, after course completion you will get the messages.
Okay.
Okay, so that is what we have covered with our networking part. So in the networking, what all things we learned about VPCs, we learned about subnets, we learned about route tables, we learned about internet gateway, we learned about elastic IP, we learned about public IPs, we learned about VPN connections, we learned about site to site, we learned about client to server, we learned about virtual private gateway, we learned about customer gateway, we learned about elastic fabric adapter, we learned about ENIs, elastic network interfaces, and we learned about security groups and NACLs. Okay, with that you are in the associate level networking. That is good enough. Only in that only you will get VPC peering, you will get 2 questions. In VPNs you will get 2 questions, and your security group and network access control list you will get 2 questions. In your VPN you will get 1 question. Around 7 to 8 questions you will get on the networking part. If you are doing thoroughly, if you do some kind of a practice on VPC peering and NAT instances and other things, you will be definitely, will be able to crack that networking part. Okay. Now we are starting a very, very, very important topic and very, very critical topic called as IAM, identity and access management. What is that we're starting? IAM, identity and access management. What is this IAM is all about? It's all about users, groups, roles, policies, and all those things. Now, how you created your AWS account, everyone?
We did sign up by providing our username and creating password.
Yeah. Okay. So what is that account is called as?
Root or that.
Okay, very good. So whenever you create your AWS account in the beginning, right, the first login account, that identity is called as root user. Okay, what is that user is called as? Root user. So there are 3 types of users. Very easy to remember. How many types of users we have? 3 types of users in our AWS. What is that? First one is called as AWS root user. Second one is called as AWS IAM user. Third one is called as AWS federated user in brackets. What is the user? Domain user. There are 3 types of user. First one is called as root user. Second one is called as IAM user. And third one is called as federated user. Okay. Now the root user is a fellow who has the complete access to all AWS services and resources in the account. Means he can do anything in AWS. He can wipe off the AWS instances. He can provide the permissions to other users. He can create, he can delete, he can rotate, he can disable, he can do whatever he wants, because he has the complete control on the services. He can see the billing, he can manage the billing, everything he can do in the AWS root account. And also he can also define multi-factor authentication. He can integrate multi-factor authentication to the users. Anything he want to do, he can do with your AWS root account. Okay. Now you will ask me a question, then what is this IAM user? IAM user is nothing but where a root user can define set of privileges, set of permissions to this IAM user, which means that if you want to create and if you want to assign, let's assume that Deepika is a root user. Now in her organization, there are some 4 admins who are working, and Deepika want to provide the permission to those 4 users. She can create a 4 IAM users, and let's assume these 4 users, one user is from development background, one user is from admin background, one user is from the storage background. Like this, you have different users. So what Deepika can do, she can create an IAM user, and then she can assign the permissions to those users whatever they want to do. It means they will not have an access to the complete root, only what Deepika has providing that access she can give it to that all these 4 users. So IAM user is nothing but it's an entity that you create or you represent an application or to interact the AWS. So with the credentials what you are been defining, but this IAM user will be able to do any kind of a task, depends on the permission what Deepika has been assigned. But by default root can do anything, but when it comes to IAM, whatever you are defining, only that permission will be assigned. Now third user what you have is called as federated user. Domain user means what? Let's assume Deepika is working in a company called as IBM company, right? So how will you log into your laptop or a desktop? You will be logging with your domain credentials, or you log in with your own credentials,
Domain credentials.
right? So let's assume you are working in IBM and IBM has taken some services from AWS. So every time you cannot, they cannot create a separate user accounts, right? They want their domain users to log in and manage the AWS. So whenever they want to log in with their Active Directory credentials or a domain credentials, then we have a solution called as, what is the third account? Federated or domain account. So how many accounts we have? 3 types of accounts. Can you repeat?
3.
First one is called as root account. Second one is
Root
called as
account.
IAM account. Third one
IAM
is called
account.
as
Federated
account.
account.
3 simple accounts. Okay. Now, how exactly, sir, this domain is something AD right now, sir. Now, how that Active Directory?
Samir, sorry, I'm interrupting you here. Sorry. Can you just repeat the IAM account part? I could not hear you properly. Sorry.
Okay. So IAM, Identity Access Manager, is nothing but a local user account on your AWS platform. So root account is nothing but a primary account. When you create your user account, means when you log into AWS Management Console, the root account is a fellow who has the complete access to the AWS services, which including your billing, including any kind of a services, whatever he want, he can do. IAM user is nothing but a local account on your AWS platform where you can define certain permissions what that user can do, which is nothing but it is not a domain account. It's nothing but it's an internal account on the AWS which we can create and we can assign certain permissions. Basically, we call it as it's an entity to create or to represent a person or an application to interact to your AWS. Means if suppose let's assume you have created you already have a primary account, root account. Now in under you want some admins to be managed a certain part of task. That time you can create a IAM account because you don't have an Active Directory, you don't have a domain, you just want to manage, you want to give certain work to your users. So you can create a user accounts and you can give them permission. Now if you are in a bigger organization, you have a domain at your organization, then you can go with the federated account. Federated account is nothing but domain account where you can integrate your AWS with your Active Directory. So that is called as domain account. So AWS provides you 3 types of accounts. Clear?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now you will get a doubt, sir. Root account is fine. We understood. IAM account is fine. You're telling it's a local account. It's fine. But how this domain controller can talk to my my local AWS platform? What is, how it can talk? What is that communication between AD to my AWS? So whenever you want to do certain things, Active Directory talking to AWS, Amazon has something called as a service, a separate service. We call it as directory services. So if we go here, I hope you all are able to see the screen. So if you go to the directory service, this is the service. Inside this service, there is an option called setup directory. So there you have a connector called as Active Directory connector. You need to create this connector connecting to your on-premises Active Directory or your cloud Active Directory, or as a or you are creating an AD as a service. You need this connector. What it will do is that it will work as a proxy to connect your AD and provide you the connectivity to your Amazon platform with your domain credentials. So if you want to do an Active Directory integration to AWS, that we can do. Now you will get a doubt, sir, can I do this on the AWS platform? Means yes, you can test it. You can create an AD in your AWS platform, and you can use that AD as a connector to your AWS platform, and you can test it. No problem at all. It will work without any problems, and I can show you that also. Okay. So that is about your AD integration with domain services. But in general, if you go to IAM, in the IAM, you get users. If you click on the users, you can create any number of users here, right? If I click on add user, I can create the user account. This is a local account. Let's assume I will say Samir. So by default, every user account will have two types of access types. One is called as programmatic access. Second one is called as management console access. What do you mean by programmatic access? Programmatic access is nothing but a user who wants to communicate or who want to access via command line or via APIs. Then we have something called as programmatic access. And management console access is nothing but graphical. Now AWS graphical console, what we are using, right? That is called as our management console access. So when you go with programmatic access, you need to have two keys. One is called as access key. Second one is called as secret key. So when you enable this programmatic access, by default, Amazon will generate an access key and secret key. Okay. Now I can go down, scroll down, and I want automated password or custom password. I can define. I can say welcome 01. I'm just giving a custom password, and it's asking, do you want to reset the password at the next login? It's up to you what you want to do. So I'm not doing anything. So I'll say next. So whenever you say next, it will ask you whether you want to add it to any group or anything. I'm not adding next review, and say create user. So by default, user will have read only permission. So you can see right here it is. You have an access key, and here you have a secret key. These two keys are used very much whenever you want to access this. You can use this two very much, and this access key and secret key will be used to communicate and to access anytime. So always you can use this access key and secret key. This will be useful for command line purpose, CLI. If you want to access your AWS through CLI, you need to use this. Or API integration, you can use this. Or SDK integration, you can use this. So always whenever whenever you want to use for your command line skills to communicate, you need to use this. Now you will ask me, sir, how do I use it? So you need to remember here, whenever you want to connect to the command line, you need to go to Google and type AWS CLI download for Windows, if it is Windows operating system. When you say this, then what will happen is that you can add it, right? So whenever you install this download, and when you install it, that time you can connect and you can access it. So you need to remember, so whenever you want to communicate to the command line, you need to have this secret key and access key. If it is not a command line, then directly you can access to the graphical. So now I have created a user called as Samir, and in the Samir, I have the permissions. If I want, I can define the permissions. By default, root user. If you go to the security credentials, there I get an option called as multi-factor authentication. If I want to assign a multi-factor authentication, I can assign. And here you can see your secret key and access key, right? So here you have a secret key, and here you have an access key. And let's assume let's assume you want to create one more key. You can go and say create access key.
Samir,
Yes.
Samir, for assigning MFA device, like how it will be, because user is not able to access to his email ID or his mobile number for first time, right?
So multi-factor authentication, if you want to access,
Like he'll be getting to root user
wait,
or how?
wait. So click on manage. You have three options: virtual MFA device, UTF, or other. Okay. If you click on virtual MFA device, you will get a barcode. You can scan this barcode if you are having it. So in your mobile, do you have this communicator? This is Google Authenticator you have?
Yes, yes.
Okay. If you click on this, so these are the software supported. You can see here. Either you can use Authy, Duo Mobile, LastPass Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, and Google Authenticator. In your mobile, in your Play Store, what you can do is that you can install Google Authenticator, and you can scan this barcode. It will generate. You can do that. I will tell you, but later again, tell me the password. If not, I can't log in. Okay. In your mobile, install your in your mobile, install the Google Authenticator just for a sake, and scan this barcode.
Okay.
I will show you live.
Yeah, Samir. So the key is 523699.
1 second, 523.
699.
Okay, the one more key will come after a
Yeah,
second.
it's 398
Uh,
067.
okay, so I am clicking on SN MFA.
Below it's asking me to add the account. Shall I add it?
Yeah, it's already done, no, so no need to worry.
Okay.
So I have created MFA. Okay. Yeah, so 1 second, hold on. So now I have created MFA to which user? To user called as Samir. Okay. So users, and click on Samir. So how this user can log in? So this is my user link. Samir got training. So if I want to delete, I will delete this. I'll show you from scratch. So by default, this is the URL which users can log in. If I want to customize, I can customize. I will say Samir123, create alias. It's already exist. Okay. I am saying 898. I created. I'll copy this account. Now, how can I log in? I need to use this URL to log in. So here I will paste this and I'll say enter. I think you are able to see my screen, right? So username is Samir, password is welcome01, and I click on sign in. Now it's asking me what it's asking.
Hi.
Multi-factor authentication code. Now that code is with my friend. I don't know who else did that. Give me that code. Till that, if you don't give, I can't log in.
Okay, so it's showing 061793.
Okay, 061793
Yeah.
and submit. See, it's working now.
Okay.
Right? That is how you can integrate your multi-factor authentication to your AWS platform. Okay. Now, one thing you need to remember, by default, whenever you create a IAM user, it will be read only. He can't do anything. So if you see here, click on EC2. I say instances and I click on launch instance or do anything. Select. What it is saying? An error described, use selecting AMI. So it won't work because you are only having a read only, right? So if you want to assign any permissions, you need to go to users, click on Samir, and can you see this add permission?
Yeah.
Click on add permission. What permission you want to assign? So here there is an existing permissions are there. Let's assume I want to give EC2. I will type EC2 full. So select this and say next review, next add permissions. So now what is there? He got what access?
EC2
full access. Now I go here, I enter here, refresh. Now here, now he got the access to deploy the machines. Can you see that?
Okay.
So this is how you can create a IAM user. Listen, this user is a IAM user. He is not a domain user. You are not logging in with a domain controller. He is just a local user which you created in AWS account, and you are able to give him the permissions as per your requirement. Clear?
Samir, can you say what are the all permissions?
That will come to know, that we will discuss later. We need to understand about the policies. Okay, there you'll understand about different types of permissions what we have. Okay, so here security credentials, you know what is multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is nothing but second level authentication if you want to assign. So what we did is that we did the multi-factor authentication we enabled with the device in Google Authenticator. I think he installed in his mobile and we use that. So it will multi-factor authentication support UTF security key, and it also supports other devices. So you need to understand these things, how this will work. So either it will support virtual multi-factor authentication or it will support UTF security key. These are nothing but these are the different options what you get, right? So UTF is nothing but universal second factor authentication, we say. That's also one more authentication method which Amazon is supported. Multi-factor authentication is one more method. So UTF is nothing but, I think you people know, right? There is a small USB they'll provide you in your office. I'm not sure how many people used.
Yeah.
One key will be coming to your that USB.
Security token.
Yeah, correct. Security token. So that also you can integrate with UTF. No, you'll say other, if you say other hardware MFA device, like third party MFA devices are there so many. Okay, like you can use hardware MFA devices. Okay, so these are nothing but if you don't want to go with the, if you don't want to go with the virtual MFA, you can go with these options also, hardware MFA device, where you can get your own hardware device and you can integrate. So Amazon is supporting you virtual MFA, multi-factor authentication. No, you can get your hardware authentication, or you can go with U2F, universal second factor authentication security key also. All these are there which are available. So if you want to know, what all the options you will get in hardware authentication. So as I told you, there are 6-digit numerical code you need to provide for any kind of an authentication, whether it's a hardware authentication or a software authentication. You need to provide that, and that once you integrate, then whatever your hardware provides the key, like a token key, that need to be used to connect for the user. So this is basically for your authentication. The purpose of this is that to get it more secured, whenever you want to log in, you will get a secure way of connection. Apart from your normal login, you're getting additional security. That is one benefit. And security key and access key, as I told you, you can create. So remember here, at a given point, only 2 keys you can use. One you can make it active and one we can make it deactive. So you can see here, both you can't use. Any one thing you can use, any one. So if I delete, I can say I can delete that. I can copy here and I can delete. And whenever I delete, it will give me an option to recreate one more key, right? Only 2 keys. So in interview, they'll ask you how many keys you can create, secret and access. Only 2 keys you can rotate one after another. Okay. So you can see here, this is a key, close it. So I can use any of this. Third key will not be working. So if you want to do, either you can delete and you can use it. Understood, right? Now you might get it out. What is the purpose of these keys? This is basically used for the, as I told you, whenever you want to communicate via your command line interface or any kind of API and SDKs, you can go with this option. Okay, so there you will use this secret key and access key. Okay, and there is SSH keys for AWS code commit and HTTPS Git credentials for code commit. Now what is this? This you can ignore. This is basically for a service for the authentication of code commit, which is for the development purpose, where repositories, development repositories, whenever you want to communicate on those repositories, the code commit is a service which will allow you to upload your code and work with your code with an SSH key. There you can use this. So as of now, if we are not using any kind of a development activities, so you can ignore. But for you, the major thing will be secret key, access key, and your multi-factor authentication will be your major thing. So all these things will be using at your any given point of time for the communicating with your end user. So this is about your users. Now what is this groups? The groups is nothing but local groups, right? Like I think you all people know, you will have in your office, right? Windows groups, Linux group, network group, like this. You can create the groups and you can assign the policies. For example, I created a group called as, let's assume I will say storage group. So what I can say, storage group, next step, and here storage admin. Right? So storage means I'll put S3. So I can give S3 full access. Okay. Or you want only read only, you can define whatever you want. I am saying S3, create group. Now storage group is created. Here, which users you want. So whatever the users you created, right? I created Samir and I created Kamlesh. So I can assign this users. I am assigning to Kamlesh, add to user. So this particular Kamlesh user has an access to what service? He has only access to storage because you have given the permission. This is nothing but called as local groups. This is not a domain groups. These all are local groups on the local server. So either you can go with users, groups, right? All these are the different options what you get when you configure. So when you go to dashboard will give you the complete list, what all users you have created, what all groups you have created, everything will be visible. This is all your local, nothing on your Active Directory. Let's assume you want to set up the complete environment in a domain. Then what you need to do, click on services. You want the same thing you're trying to do on the domain platform, then you need to have a domain setup. So what I'll do is that instance state terminate. So what I'm doing is that I am creating AD so that I can show you AD users how they can connect to my AWS platform. So I'll go here and I will type Windows, select, enter.
Actually, what's happening?
Hello.
Samir, can you go a bit slow because I'm not able to see all the screens. Like when you selected that terminate, I did not see the screen at all.
Instant state, and I did terminate.
See, I'm not able. Okay, okay.
Is it everyone is having problem?
No, Samir.
No, no, no.
Samir.
No, Samir. Okay.
No, sir.
You're fine.
Go a bit slow. That's it.
Okay. So here I have went to EC2, and here we need to create a Windows. Go here and type Windows and enter and select Windows OS, because when you want to create an Active Directory, you need to have a Windows operating system. Select this and click on next. I'm going with default. That's fine. Next, next. So here I will say all traffic and I will say anywhere. Review launch, launch, and I'm saying create new key pair, and I'll say lab called as AD lab. Scroll down and say view instances. Right? So what I did, I'm creating a server called as Active Directory. I hope everyone knows how to configure domain. Okay. What is that we are doing? We are testing AD user on AWS console access. Okay. To do this, step one, what we need to configure AD either at your on-premises or your cloud or wherever you want, wherever you need connectivity. Okay. Step two, what we need to configure DNS configuration. Step three, what we need AD DNS, then we need to configure user accounts in Active Directory. Step 4, we need to create IAM roles. Step 5, we need to create a directory service AD connector. Step 6, create access URL for domain users. Step 7, configure permissions. Step 8, test the connectivity. So these 8 steps we need to do to configure my AD user on your AWS console. So in that, what is that step we are going to do today? We are going to do these 3 steps. That is creating an AD at your on-premises. We already created. Now we need to do the DNS. And the third step, what we need to do? User accounts. So how to do it? Now you already have this console. I think you can all see my console. So go here and say connect RDP client, download, get password, browse, AD lab PEM, open, scroll down, decrypt password, copy this, go here, connect, and say yes. You're able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you logged into the server. Okay. Now, how do I make a domain controller? How many people know Windows?
Go to system manager.
You need to teach me where to go.
Server manager.
Server manager.
Very good. Now उसके बाद क्या करना है?
Create a role. Manage.
Add roles and
Add
features.
Add roles and features.
Yeah. So just a second. Click on next.
Next.
Role-based
Next.
configuration.
Next.
Active Directory.
Second, Active Directory domains. Add features.
उसके बाद
Next.
उसके बाद
Next. Install.
simple. Next. Install Windows. But after this only your major work will be there. That I want to see how many people can be successful in the DNS. So just wait for 2 minutes.
Samir, till then, please show me the steps. I have to write down.
I will share you in the WhatsApp.
Okay. And also upload the whatever the PPT is pending. Today's PPT also.
Good morning, Samir.
Yeah.
Could you share your number? I'm not on WhatsApp group, so I'm missing out on notifications.
Okay. 7022247222.
Give me a minute. Let me grab a... Okay, go on.
7022247222.
Okay. 7022247222.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Close. Flag.
Forest
Add new forest.
domain we have to give dot.
Domain.
Password.
So I have just given the username and password. So it is getting installed. So it will take 2 minutes. Okay. It's loading. Just give a minute. Okay, so close it. So we completed, right? So it's restarting now. So once the AD is completed, it will take some 2-3 minutes to come up. Then only we can do the DNS configuration. So it's coming up. Just wait for a minute.
ಸಮೀರ್
Yeah.
ಎಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ರಿವಿಷನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಓದಿರಾ?
What?
ಎಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್, ಆರ್ ಯು ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ರಿವಿಷನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್?
You can join, like, parallel batches are there, no? Anytime you can join for the revision.
Okay.
Still loading. Just wait for 2 minutes. But you are not getting any links to join parallel batches. Can you just please provide?
Samir, how would we know this parallel sessions? How can we join this?
If somebody is missed, that time I can put it in the group. But if anybody is missing any sessions, but by default, if anyone is missing, then you can.
So do I have to personally message you, text you regarding this?
Yeah, if any, see, like this, now this guy said no, he missed some session. What's his name?
Yeah.
Devnath. So I remember, and I can, whenever that topic comes, I can add him. So it is like that.
Okay. Sounds good.
By default, I'll keep on-
So Samir, you will post it in the group itself, right? Our 12 p.m. Batch group, you will post that, joining link, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
suppose if anybody want to listen EC2, they can come next week, Saturday morning, 8:30. Somebody wants, again, now only I'm telling you, if anybody missed EC2, they want to listen from starting, they can come again at 8:30 batch.
Samir, is it possible to send all the links in the group 12 p.m. batch? One who wants to join any classes, they can join.
Yeah, I will send you the link. See, that link I can only send you because that is a different batch link. No, that I can send you at 8:30 on the same day, 8:20. 8 o'clock, I'll send you the link.
Okay, fine, sure.
Yes, Samir, no problem. It would be good.
Yeah.
Samir, what about VPN classes? Yeah.
That will take 2 more, means next Saturday, Sunday, that next Sunday. So not this coming Sunday, that next coming Sunday, you can learn VPN.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we are in the AD. Now, go here, forward lookup zone, reverse lookup zone, abcd.com, right? So this is a thing, right? And go here, ncpa.cpl. Always make sure that your domain has the proper IP has been defined in the DNS. Scroll down, properties. So what is the IP address of this computer? Go to CMD, IP config. What is the IP address? 172.31.5.102, right? 172.31.5.102. Click on OK. Close. abcd.com. Now you can see. Now, if I type ns lookup, I am not getting it, right? I am getting something. So I need to get abcd.com. What should I do now? How many people are good in DNS? Shivling, Akhilesh, Nandunda.
We have created configure a forward lookup zone.
Forward lookup zone is already there, no?
Reverse lookup zone.
Yeah.
Okay. Right click.
Add a zone.
New zone. Next.
Empty zone.
Next.
Add IP.
What is IP?
172.31.
5.102.
102.
Allow both non-secure and secure. Next. Finish. Okay.
Samir, IP configure ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ರಿವರ್ಸ್ ಲುಕಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 102 ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ.
No.
Not required. That last type is not required.
Last octet bedwa.
Beda. Okay, so go here and type ns lookup, enter, but it is
Yeah.
showing unknown. What to do? Come
You
on,
need to mention the AD, the DNS name, right? The ABCD.
but it should come no automatically when you configure DNS. It's not showing me. Now you are 51 people should fix this issue. What is that missing in DNS?
Its status saying not signed.
No, that is nowhere related to your DNS. It's already created. Pointer, browse, go here, go here, go here, go here and say okay, and say okay. This is something called as pointer record which you need to create. Okay, if there's no pointer record, it will not be able to identify the record information. Go exit and type ns lookup, enter. Now can you see that?
Yeah.
So now ping abcd.com. See, it's communicating with the IP address. Your name is communicating with the IP address. That is how you need to configure the DNS. Now you have created successfully DNS, successfully domain controller. Now what you need to do, you need to create the AD users. How to create an AD users?
Go to server manager, tools,
Very good. Server manager.
tools. Active Directory user and computer.
Go here. Right click and say new user. Yes. Samir. Next. Type password. Welcome. 01. Uncheck. Say next. Finish. Right. So I created the user here. Like this, I can create the users. New. I can create some more users. Test 1. Test 1. Welcome. 01. Welcome. 01. Go here. Finish. Right. That's how you can create the AD users. Now the major part, what you will be learning that's next week, is that how can we integrate this with my AWS? That is what is the major part, right? So you tested now domain creation, you tested now DNS creation, you created. Now next step would be our AD should talk to my AWS. Now AWS should talk to my AD. That is what we will do with a service called as what service?
Directory service.
Directory service. In that what connector? AD
AWS Federal.
AD connector.
AD Federic connector. AD connector.
AD connector. With the help of AD connector, then you can integrate your domain with your on-premises or your cloud AD or any kind of an Active Directory. You can integrate that. We will see next week.
So, Samir.
Yeah, Nanjan.
Samir, if possible, can you please show me last step? DNS last step create madala. Just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Samir, show it from the pointer creation of
pointer adu torsi last one.
Right click ಮಾಡಿ, new pointer.
Okay.
Browse ಮಾಡಿ. Sorry guys, I am speaking in Kannada. He's asking in Kannada. Okay. Scroll down. Here you select your record.
Okay.
Click on OK. Ashte.
Okay, fine. Fine. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Done. सर समझ में आया, किसी को डाउट है?
सर इसमें अगर पहले हम स्टैटिक आईपी अगर मशीन का कॉन्फ़िगर करके रखते तो ये पॉइंटर ऐड कराना
जरूरत
पड़ता
नहीं
क्या?
जरूरत
नहीं थी ना, वो हमने स्टैटिक नहीं कॉन्फ़िगर करके रखा था इसके लिए।
इसीलिए करेक्ट, यू आर राइट अखिलेश।
Samir, I did not get
No.
static.
See, you can create by default when you manually add it, one pointer record will get created. Okay. So if it is not created, we need to create manually. So what he's saying is that if it's already we created, then does it require? So I said it's not required.
Okay.
Okay. So
Samir.
हाँ जी।
सॉरी, वो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे वो अपना जो अभी नोटपैड पे लिखा था वो शेयर कर दो।
एक मिनट, मैं इसमें भी डाल दूंगा और व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में भी डाल दूंगा।
एंड प्लीज अपलोड द टुडेज PowerPoint प्रेजेंटेशन आल्सो।
ओके, मैं अभी इसमें डाल दिया जूम में और आपको व्हाट्सएप में भी डाल रहा हूँ। एक मिनट।
हाँ चलिए।
लास्ट 2 डेज की वीडियो रिकॉर्डिंग भी अवेलेबल नहीं हुई, 31st and 6th की।
मैं अभी डाल रहा हूँ, एक बार वो पिंग कर दो मुझे वो ग्रुप का व्हाट्सएप में।
ऑलरेडी पिंग किया हुआ कल का मैंने।
नहीं आज अभी वो ग्रुप पिंग कर दो। 12 o'clock का क्या था, 12 PM।
ठीक है।
समीर,
हाँ अभी देखो, अभी मैं पेस्ट कर दिया।
समीर,
ब्रांच को मुझे हेड ऑफिस में बैठ के इंक्लूडिंग मोबाइल बस किस तरह से मैं सीसीटीवी कैमरे में सब देख पाऊँ, ये पहले वर्कआउट कीजिए, ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है।
हेलो, किसके लिए बोल रहे थे? हमारे लिए।
hello, Samir.
Yeah,
Siddharth this side. So Samir, I wanted to have a session for storage to be refurbished.
No problem.
So, when
the storage comes, I will let you know. If you want to learn from scratch, then you need to come at 8:30 AM, which is starting EC2 from next Saturday.
Next Saturday. Okay, sure.
Okay, I have shared you. I will be sharing to the other people also that same steps.
समीर हम L130 बैच पे नहीं आया।
हाँ वही मैं शेयर कर रहा हूँ, 2 मिनट।
Mr. Samir.
हाँ जी।
Add me to WhatsApp group, will you?
I'll do that. 1 second. This is for शिवलिंग कांबले जी। शिवलिंग जी, मुझे थोड़ा एक बार
पिंग कर दो।
हाँ कर दो, थोड़ा बहुत मेहरबानी होगी। हाँ मैंने भेज दिया।
या मिल गया मुझे मिल गया।
ओके, थैंक यू सर। थैंक्स
समीर, वो 8:30 के बैच के लिए आपको कभी पिंग करूं मैं?
मुझे जस्ट पिंग कर दो, मैं अभी उसमें ऐड कर दूंगा आपको वो ग्रुप में।
8 PPT today's side to side PPT ಅದೊಂದು ಕಳಿಸ್ಬಿಡಿ।
ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಓಕೆ। ಅದು ಸೌರಭ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ they need to do some modifications, okay? Give it to Saurav and he will upload it, okay?
Samir, next week क्या batches हो, like क्या classes हो after IIM?
Morning 8:30 EC2 class ಇದೆ, 10:30 same IIM class.
After IIM next week
ಇಲ್ಲ ಎರಡೇ ಬ್ಯಾಚ್ ಇದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
Next after IIM which class?
Database.
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for your time.